enough, and amidst his very busy schedule during his trip here in Egypt, he humbly accepted to join us again and continue an enlightening journey. Good evening, welcome to Mondays with myself, your host, Ayman Salah. It gives me great pleasure to host once more Dr. Zaghloul al-Naggar, the director of the Markfield Institute of Higher Education in England. Sir, indeed an honor to have you with us again on this show. Thank you very much for accepting to join us again.
Thank you very much for inviting me to your show.
It's a great pleasure. Last week, Dr. Zaghloul, we were very short on time and we talked briefly about an issue on everyone's mind and an issue that you can say of this day and age, and that is globalization.
Yes.
Many view it as positive, many others view it as negative.
Yes.
Does it contradict with the essence of Islam?
Not at all. Because first of all, Islam is a global religion. It is a universal religion. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was sent to humanity at large. And being the seal of that long chain of messengers from God to man, and there is no prophet or messenger after him, his message has to be integral and universal. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, is quoted to have said, كلكم لآدم وآدم من تراب. You are all to Adam, and Adam is from earth. And this is a very, very important slogan that defies any form of racial discrimination, any form of discrimination between humanity at large. And gladly enough, recent advances in scientific discoveries has proved that all human beings of all ages, of all colors, of all tongues, of all creeds, are having exactly the same chemical composition of their DNA. Recent reading of the human genome has proved that all the human beings agree in their chemical composition of the DNA 99.9%. And this in itself denies any form of discrimination between human beings at all.
Right.
Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, is quoted also to have said, الناس سواسية كأسنان المشط. Human beings are equal like the teeth of an even comb. لا فضل لعربي على عجمي إلا بالتقوى ولا لأبيض على أسود إلا بالتقوى. There is no advantage of an Arab over a non-Arab except by heeding Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or of a white over a black, or a white over a yellow, except by heeding Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The fact that these discoveries have proved the unity of chemical composition of the DNA, by which all the characteristics of human beings are written in their genome, defies any form of racial discrimination. And this claim by the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and by the Holy Quran 14 centuries ago proves that this message is not only for the Arabs or the Pakistanis or the Turks or the Indonesians or the Malaysians. It is for all human beings until the end of this world.
Right.
So Islam does not defy globalization. What Islam defies is the fact that the world powers today, which have developed immensely in the area of science and technology, and have gained tremendous powers in the area of the military, the area of economics, the area of the media. They are trying to impose their own ideologies on the smaller countries, the third world countries, and this is something which Islam defies completely. Why Islam defies it? Because this will be the oppression of the strong over the weak, the oppression of the powerful over the needy, the oppression of the wealthy over the poor. And this oppression cannot be tolerated by Islam. Also, we notice that despite the fact that the West has developed immensely in the area of science and technology, and has developed their environment immensely in the form of facilities, in the form of luxury, in the form of affluence, yet the human society in the West is the most miserable society one could ever think of. All the wise writers in the West lament the fact that the family structure is decaying in the West. Cohabitation is replacing marriage. Single-parent family is a dominant phenomenon. Teenage pregnancy is immensely widely spread. Illegitimate children are being born in masses. The rapid escalation in the rate of crime, the rate of addiction, the rate of suicide, the rate of psychological depressions. This is completely destroying the Western society and making people there absolutely miserable and absolutely unhappy. I have a friend who is working as a professor of psychology in one of the British universities, and he told me that I'm going to give up. He said, the stories I'm hearing every day through my patients is so depressing that it is being reflected on my own life and the life of my own family. So the West, with this immense development, material development, is decaying morally, decaying spiritually, departing with religion, relying heavily on the material world, and this will produce Satans rather than human beings. Because man is not only that physical body, man is a tremendous balanced nature with equal spiritual aspect as the physical aspect. Inasmuch as that physical aspect needs food, drink, and lots of other aspirations, the spiritual aspect of man needs that care. If you tilt the balance, man can never be happy. Man can never achieve his message in life. Man can be an absolutely destroying monster in that world. So the West admits clearly that people have departed with religion. People have indulged in their pleasures and indulged in their material lives, and this never brought any happiness to them. They are trying to impose this ideology despite the fact that they know its deficiencies on the smaller countries, the third world countries, including the Muslim countries, and that's what Islam defies.
Okay, before we continue, this is a very revealing and important factor, and you are tackling the West. However, in our societies here, unfortunately, the essence of Islam and what you have been talking about and the morals that have been taught and the spiritual factors, they are not absent in our society. However, there are a lot of what is being done in the West, if you will, that's done here in our Islamic religion. While in the West it's clear and obvious, here it's not clear and obvious.
That's very true.
So this is a problem also that needs to be tackled.
Indeed. Because you see, our world is changing gradually into one large village. What happens in one of its corners echoes in the rest. And that's why, in giving Islam to others, we are not only saving those others, we are saving ourselves. Because the media now approaches everybody in his bedroom. And unless we really try to live Islam in our own society at its full, we cannot give Islam to others. And unless we give Islam to others, the world will continue decaying, the world will continue to be a place of aggression and transgression, the world will create more and more unhappinesses and injustices all the time.
All right, Dr. Zaghloul, we're going to open the floor for telephone questions right from the start, because I would say there are a lot of people who want to ask you questions. So let's take this telephone call. Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Yes, I believe you have a question for Dr. Zaghloul Naggar. Your
yes,
name
hello,
and
Ayman.
question, please.
Hello, Ayman.
Yes, hello.
Hello, Ayman.
Yes, hello, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I want to ask a question to Dr. Zaghloul.
Please, go ahead.
I read before from Dr. Zaghloul that there is a Turkish ship captain who burned the Holy Quran before in the sea. And there is a big damage happened to his ship. I want to know more about this issue, and I want to know your opinion, Dr. Zaghloul's opinion, about the statues in Afghanistan, frankly. Was the crushing of these statues wrong or right, from his opinion?
The statues in Afghanistan.
I see.
Okay, so 2
Thank
points.
you, Dr. Zaghloul.
Thank you. 2 points. The Quran, burning of the Quran, and what happened with the Taliban.
You see, I was invited to an interview with the Jazeera channel a few years ago at the time of the earthquake that took place in Turkey. And I was told by somebody that just before this earthquake took place, there was a party in one of the marine bases in Turkey. And in that party, one of the big shots in the Marines being drunk, asked one of his officers, younger officers, whether he has got a copy of the Holy Quran or not.
A Turkish naval officer?
Turkish naval officer, yes. And he told me, yes, I have one in my car, so bring it. He brought it to him. He said, open it. He opened it, he read. He said, can you comment on that? He said, my Arabic is not that good. I cannot comment on it. But I need somebody to help me to comment. Then he took the Quran from it and threw it on the ground. And he started laughing, being completely drunk. In a few minutes, the earthquake took place, and this marine base was completely destroyed, sinking into the sea, 40 meters below the seabed. They could not retrieve any single individual from that group. I did not witness this myself. I was told that by somebody on internet. I just quoted it, and I need to authenticate it by visit to Turkey. But I heard later on that many of the imams in Turkey were repeating this story, and this chief of the army said, despite the fact that they are repeating this story to threaten the military and make them fear doing anything against Islam, I will continue fighting Islam for a whole century. If the brother is asking about this story, I mentioned it on the Jazeera channel a few years ago. It is written on internet. I did not witness it myself. I cannot authenticate it until I visit Turkey.
Okay.
As to the other issue of the demolishing the Buddha statues in Afghanistan, I think that the issue was highlighted immensely unduly. There is not a single Buddhist in Afghanistan. The statue as a piece of art should be preserved so long it's not worshipped. But as Buddha is being worshipped today, I do believe that from the Islamic point of view, these statues should have been destroyed, but without making that big fuss. And I don't think that the Afghanis destroyed it just from a religious point of view. They are besieged. They are economically in great depression. Thousands of children and elderly are dying every day out of cold weather. The whole world is not doing any help at all. On the contrary, the Americans have imposed lots of economic sanctions against them, and the destruction of the two statues was something just to make people know what's going on in Afghanistan. It was not done from an Islamic point of view.
But you just said that there are no Buddhists in Afghanistan.
Yes.
Therefore, they are not worshipped in that country.
Yes.
To preserve these statues, wouldn't it have been the right thing to do?
But you see, Buddha is being worshipped in nearby countries.
Right,
in India,
nearby countries.
In India, in Japan, in Sri Lanka. Really, no statue used for worshipping should be maintained as an Islamic ruling. If a statue is just made as a piece of art or a piece of anything else, there is no harm. And when the Muslims moved into Egypt, there were lots of statues, and Islam ruled Egypt for centuries without harming these statues at all, because they were not being worshipped at the time of their ruling.
So we can say that the Taliban move was just to attract attention to the
It was indeed. It was. I do believe that.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have another caller online. Hello?
Hello?
Yes, your name and your question, please.
Okay, I would like to ask Dr. Zaghloul. Firstly, I do appreciate you as a Muslim professor. I read from in some magazines that there is a professor in Al-Azhar University disagreed with you about your explanation in Quran. I don't know if you read this or not. I would like to know what's your opinion about this agreement. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. You see, I do believe that the cosmic verses in the Holy Quran, which constitute almost 1/6 of the total number of verses in the Holy Quran, cannot be fully understood within their linguistic framework. Unless we apply modern scientific knowledge, we cannot understand these verses fully. Many of the scholars who have devoted their life for literary study or linguistic studies or religious studies, who have never read a science book, who have never exposed themselves to the scientific procedure, they cannot appreciate what scientists are doing. Science, indeed, started at the early days of Renaissance with a big divorce with the church. And as a result of that immense struggle between the clergy and the scientists in the West, science started departing away from religion, denying the world of the unseen, denying creation, denying resurrection, denying accountability, judgment, and the rest. And that's why up until today, most scientific journals disagree completely with including anything relating to what is beyond nature, what's beyond the sensed material, the material world. This made religious scholars look down upon science and look down upon scientific conclusions. They think that science is just theories and propositions and hypotheses and nothing more. And because some of these theories were subject to modification and change, they think that science is unstable and the scientific endeavor can never reach to a fact. However, recent developments in the area of scientific research has discovered a large number of facts of our cosmos. And these facts are established facts. They cannot be denied. And unless we use such established facts in commenting on cosmic verses in the Holy Quran, we can never ever understand their full meanings. And the Quran laments on people who read without comprehension. And Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, has told us that reading a letter from the Quran is an act of worship. And for reading it, one will be rewarded one blessing, and this can be multiplied tenfold. But understanding it can reach fully, can make you gain 70 blessings, and this can be multiplied tenfold. So really the Quran was not sent to us just to use it as in funerals or for blessings in the car or placement in houses and homes. The Quran came down as a way of life which has to be comprehended and fully understood. The only area, or before I say this, we deal with these cosmic verses with two approaches. The first approach is a commentary. And in carrying out a commentary, I have to use the established facts. In the absence of established facts, I have no option but to use the available theories. If the theory proves to be incorrect, this will not reflect on the glory of the Holy Quran. It reflects on the commentator, because this is a human effort to understand the meaning of the verse. If you succeed in doing it, you will be rewarded twofold. If you do not succeed, you will be rewarded onefold, depending on your intention, whether your intention is good or bad. However, in the area of scientific inimitability of the Holy Quran, scientific supremacy of the Holy Quran, scientific miraculous aspect of the Holy Quran, in that area we cannot use except established facts. Because in the area of proving that to the whole world, Muslims and non-Muslims alike, that this book that was revealed more than 14 centuries ago contains some basic facts of the universe that were not known to man except a few decades ago. In this precedence, you cannot use a theory. You cannot use a hypothesis. You have to use established facts. Except in one case, in the case of when the Quran talks about creation, annihilation of the creation, and recreating the universe once more. These three basic areas can never fall directly under the hands of experimental scientists. And in this case, a large number of theories and hypotheses can be presented, and the Quran can help us to alleviate or upgrade one of these theories to the status of a fact, just because it is mentioned in the Holy Quran or in one of the traditions of the Prophet, peace be upon him.
Dr. Zaghloul, you were talking about during the Renaissance period there was a divorce between the church and the scientists.
Yes.
And here you're saying that the Quran calls for development, calls for scientific studies, and has a lot of facts into it. If we talk about some examples of scientific revelations and facts in the Quran that the scientists have lately discovered.
Thank you very much indeed. If you allow me, I would like to give an example, first of all, how a hypothesis or a theory presented by man can be upgraded to the status of a fact just because it is mentioned in the Holy Quran. And then I will come to some of the facts, established facts.
Right.
The Quran speaks about the creation of the universe into a few number of verses. In one of these verses, the Quran reads, have with me some translations so that I may not make a mistake. The Quran reads, بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم أولم يرى الذين كفروا أن السماوات والأرض كانتا رتقا ففتقناهما وجعلنا من الماء كل شيء حي. The verse reads, haven't the unbelievers seen that the heavens and the earth were initially gathered together or condensed in one initial singularity, and then we clove them asunder. This verse really speaks beautifully, if you would like to copy it, speaks about the Big Bang Theory. The Big Bang Theory was formulated in the late 50s of the 20th century. For the Quran, that was revealed 14 centuries ago, to speak about this theory, speak it in such an affirmative style, can help us to know that this is exactly the mode of creation of the universe, because these are the words of the Creator himself, all glory be to him. So I understand that the Big Bang is a mere theory, but there are numerous theories that were given to explain the creation of or the origin of the universe. This is one of a large number of theories, but we accept that theory as a fact because it is mentioned in the Holy Quran 14 centuries ago, long before man has reached the formulation of that theory. The Holy Quran also tells us that this expansion can never continue. Time will come when the universe will collapse once more on itself, and it will change into a singularity similar to the initial singularity from which it was created. The Quran reads in Surah Al-Anbiya, which is the same surah where the other verse was mentioned, يوم نطوي السماء كطي السجل للكتب كما بدأنا أول خلق نعيده وعدا علينا إن كنا فاعلين. The day will come when we roll up the heaven in the same way a scroll rolls up its writings or books. As we started the first creation, we repeat it in exactly the same manner, a promise upon us we have undertaken, verily we were to fulfill. This verse again agrees fully with another theory that explains the end of this universe. The theory is known as the Big Crunch. And scientists say that at the beginning of the 20th century, they observed lots of phenomena that can testify to the expansion of the universe. And they could not explain that expansion except by being the product of an explosion from a single initial body. And this expansion is going on steadily as much as the push outward is more than the gravity that pulls things together. But they also say that this outward push will be reduced gradually with time to bring the world to a moment when gravity will collapse it again. We'll call it again to collapse into one initial body, similar to the initial body from which creation started. Of course, there are lots of physical observations that can support both hypotheses, the Big Bang and the Big Crunch. The mere fact that the Holy Quran, a book revealed more than 14 centuries ago, in a community of unlettered people, with no civilization whatsoever, with no scientific knowledge whatsoever, to reveal these two observations so explicitly can help us as Muslims believing in the fact that the Quran is the word of the Creator, to accept these two hypotheses as realities because they were mentioned in the Holy Quran. And in this case, we are alleviating a theory or a hypothesis to the status of a fact by its notion in the Holy Quran or in a saying by the Prophet, peace be upon him.
Okay, Dr. Zaghloul, we'll talk about other scientific revelations which you would kindly inform us of, but we have a caller online who has been staying there for some time.
Okay.
Hello? Hello?
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam.
I would like to express my deep appreciation to Dr. Zaghloul and pray for God to keep him to continue his outstanding efforts to illustrate the glory of Islam. But in the meantime, we know that the Quran is the constitution of Muslims, more than a book for geography or geology or these things. And it is the final word. In the meantime, the science is still progressing and things will change. And it is risky to tie our knowledge in the science with the glory of Quran, because this might be, you understand what I mean, might be risky what will be in the future. I would like you, if you kindly can illustrate this. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your question. Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you very much indeed. This issue has always been raised throughout time, that it is dangerous to try to explain the Holy Quran with the words of man. But I would like to ask, those who explained it through the language, what language did they use? They used the language of man. And as I said earlier, cosmic verses in the Holy Quran cannot be fully understood within the framework of the language alone. It is absolutely impossible. I am not saying that we have to impose on the issues of the religion, because I understand that the Holy Quran is mainly a book of guidance to man in areas that cannot be correctly addressed by man, such as the area of faith, the area of acts of worship, the area of the moral code, and the area of the code that governs the transactions with others. These four basic areas, we can clearly see that the Quranic verses come in very, very explicit wording, so that anybody, whether they have the highest level of education or they had no education whatsoever, can understand the meaning of the verse. If the Quran says, "Aqim as-salah," establish prayers, it doesn't have two meanings. If the Quran says, "Kutiba alaykum as-siyam kama kutiba ala alladhina min qablikum," fasting the month of Ramadan has been an established duty upon you, it doesn't have two meanings. If the Quran says, "Walillahi ala al-nasi hajjul bayt," it is a duty for people towards Allah to perform Hajj to Mecca.
The pilgrimage.
You see, the pilgrimage. Really, these Quranic verses are so precise, so concise, so plain, that there is no difficulty in understanding them at all. But when it comes to the cosmic verses, they have been tailored in such a way, first of all, to suit the mentality of the people at the time of revelation, and to develop with time. The more people's knowledge about science enlarge, we find that the verse unfolds to encompass that human knowledge. And unless we do that service to the Holy Quran, we will be burying our heads in the sand. We cannot carry that message to others. We can be talking a language that cannot be understood by the people of our time.
If you would allow me, Dr. Zaghloul, to just make a brief comment to the caller who was with us. Nobody is definitely trying to say that there is an imposition of science on the Quran, or that this is a geography or a scientific book. Nobody is saying that. What is being said is that other than the verses that have no two meanings, like Dr. Zaghloul has been mentioning, there are verses that with the latest science now you can begin to understand these verses, and you can understand the wonders of Islam and of the Holy Book, in that these are facts that have been presented to us long ago, but we couldn't understand it because we had no scientific development up to this time to understand it. Let me continue. I believe we have a caller online. Okay, let's take this telephone call. Hello? Hello? Do we have a caller online? Hello.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead with your question, please.
I can't hear you.
I can hear you. Go ahead with your question.
Okay, I just wanted, sorry for the interruption, but I just wanted to say that thank you very much for Dr. Zaghloul al-Naggar, and I don't want him at all to be discouraged from his theories. I heard a lot about whatever they are writing in the newspapers, and I just want to tell him that so many of us are reading what his theories, and now we can understand Quran better. There were several things that we couldn't understand it before, but at least now we have a step forward, and I know that his theories are not the end. There will be other people who would interpret it more, but this is only the first step. And thank you very much. We now have a strong faith. No, I can't say this. A stronger faith in Quran, specifically now with all whatever is going. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This is a vote of confidence, but you don't need more votes of confidence.
But if I would like to add just a few words, I would like to say nobody ever said that the Quran is a book of science or a book of astronomy or chemistry or physics or medicine or embryology. The scientific examples in the Holy Quran do not cover every single aspect of scientific knowledge. They are selected examples that were included in the Holy Quran to testify to the fact that whoever has created this universe is supreme, knowledgeable, wise creator. The wonders in the creation can testify to that, and it calls to the fact that this sole creator is the only worthy to be worshipped and to be obeyed. They also come in the context to testify to the fact that whoever has created this universe is capable of annihilating it and is capable of recreating it again. And the process of recreation was the everlasting argument of the unbelievers. How come that when we die and our bodies decay, how come that we can be resurrected again? And that's why these cosmic verses point to the knowledge, wise, and might of the Creator. Secondly, I would like to say that the Quran, by its own words, tells us that these verses can be understood gradually. Even at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, the Bedouins in the Arabian desert could grasp some meaning of these cosmic verses, but equaling their level of knowledge. And what they grasped was correct. And these correct interpretations unfold with time to satisfy the description of the Prophet, peace be upon him, when he said about the Holy Quran, إن هذا القرآن لا تنتهي عجائبه ولا يخلق على كثرة الرد. This holy book, its miracles can never come to an end, and it will never look old the more you look into it. The Quran tells us سنريهم آياتنا في الآفاق وفي أنفسهم حتى يتبين لهم أنه الحق. We will definitely show them our signs in the farthest horizons and in themselves until they realize that this is the absolute truth. And we will show them this is the future, this is our time. And many other verses really confirm the fact that the full meanings of these cosmic verses will unfold always with time.
Okay, another question. Hello.
Hello?
Yes, your name and your question, please.
Hi, my name is Nermeen. I'd like to tell Dr. Naggar that I'm very happy that he's doing this in English. I've been trying to understand the Arabic in several programs, and I always need a translator. Thank you very, very much for doing it in English. I know that a lot of people will learn from you. One question. What is your view in regards to the Israel, in regards the Quran?
All right. Thank you very much, Nina.
Thank you.
Let me just, before we delve into this, let me just tell the people that don't understand Arabic that they can go on your website, I believe.
Yes, indeed.
And this is www.islamonline.com.
Yes.
So it's www.islamonline.com. And you have Dr. El Nagar's email account as well if you need any questions to be answered. Go ahead, please.
You see, I don't really always like to indulge into politics because I love science more than politics. But if the sister insists that I should answer this question, I would like to tell you plainly that a few years ago, an article was published in one of the American magazines with the heading, "The present Jews are not true Jews." And the article was written by a Jew, an American Jew. The article says that, going back to the Encyclopedia Judaica, there is a map that shows the distribution of religion in the world. And in this map, all the Jews of the world were shown to concentrate around the Caspian Sea. And the Caspian Sea was known in the very near past as Bahr al-Khazar, the Khazarian Sea. And the article says those Khazarians, people around the Caspian Sea, were of Turkish Mongolian race. They were heathens with no belief whatsoever. They were approached by two rabbis that moved to them from the northern part of Iran. And the Jews are very crafty in approaching the people in positions of power. They convinced the king of the Khazars, and at that time he was known as King Buwan. They convinced him to accept Judaism as a religion, and he was a heathen. And of course we know that Jews are highly enclosed around, enclaved around themselves. They don't invite others to Judaism unless they were looking for some gains. And they could use astrology, magic, all the lusts of the body and the wealth. Anyhow, they convinced the king to accept Judaism, and Judaism was declared as the official religion of the Khazars. Most people knew nothing about Judaism. And even they tailored a new language, which is a mixture between the Hebrew and the local languages, some German words, which is known as the Yiddish language. And the Tsar of Russia invaded that kingdom, which was very aggressive and very destructive. So he destroyed that kingdom, and the Khazars moved to Eastern Europe, and then to Western Europe, and from there to the two Americas. And those Khazars are the basic foundations of the Zionist movement, which claimed without any reason, without any justification, their rights in the land of Palestine. The land of Palestine was given to Muslims, and the followers of Moses, peace be upon him, were Muslims. The followers of Jesus Christ, peace be upon him, were Muslims. And when the Prophet, peace be upon him, went to Medina and he found the Jews fasting, and he asked, why are these people fasting? They said, a day Allah has saved Moses on it. And then he immediately answered, we are more worthy of Moses than them. Because he knew that they were deviants from the message of Moses, peace be upon him. And we know that the message of the divine guidance to man was invariably the same, and its name was invariably Al-Islam. So anybody that was left behind from accepting the last religion is a deviant from the single form of divine guidance to man. This does not mean that we would like to impose on others our own beliefs, because the basic issue in Islam is la ikraha fi din. There should never ever be any compulsion in religion.
What about the Jewish claims in Al-Aqsa Mosque, for example?
They have no claim in it at all. No claim in it at all, but let me complete my story. Right. You see, those Eastern European Jews, known as Ashkenazim, they constitute the bulk of the ruling military force in Palestine, in occupied Palestine. The rest are what we call Sephardim. And the Sephardim are the Andalusian Jews, the Spaniards, that were kicked out of Spain during the time of the courts of Inquisition, and they could not find a country to accept them except the Islamic Khilafah, the Islamic Caliphate. And they went all the way through northern Africa to Egypt, and then to Palestine, Syria, Lebanon, and rested in southern Turkey. They conspired against the Islamic Khilafah until they caused its collapse. The Sephardim represents the second minority of the Jews in Palestine, and they are neither Arabs nor Semitic, and they are not related to the area ethnically, religiously, historically, geographically, or in any form. This is, the Zionism was a wrong slogan raised by a very small minority of the so-called Jews of Europe, just to grasp the land of Palestine under a pseudo-religious slogan. They invaded the Western Church and made the Christians in the West believe that the second coming of Christ, peace be upon him, will never take place until a state has been established for the Jews on the land of Palestine. All these claims are historically unfounded, religiously unfounded, politically unfounded, linguistically unfounded, and they have no claims in the land of Palestine whatsoever.
All right, Dr. Zaghloul, we have a caller online. Hello?
Yes, this is Mustafa.
Yes, hello, Mr. Mustafa. Go ahead with your question quickly, please.
First, I would like to thank you guys for this program, and I have a request. Please keep the data on the screen as long as you can, okay? This is the first.
Okay,
and the second, what?
Go ahead, go ahead.
Okay, and I have two questions in the Holy Quran. The first, and excuse me because I can't say it in English. The first ayah is وَالْعَادِيَاتِ ضَبْحًا فَالْمُرِيَاتِ قَدْحًا, to the end of the ayah. Well, could you explain to us, Dr. Zaghloul, does this ayah have a scientific meaning? This is the first question. And the second question is وَتَكُونُ الْجِبَالِ كَالْعِهْنِ الْمَنْفُوشِ. Does this ayah too have a scientific meaning?
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Before we start, let me just ask our director to put the email on the screen, please. Go ahead.
The first verse, وَالْعَادِيَاتِ ضَبْحًا وَالْمُرِيَاتِ قَدْحًا, these are expressions of the horses running speedily in the battlefield in a way to encourage Muslims for being powerful in jihad. The second verse, يَوْمَ تَكُونُ الْجِبَالُ كَالْعِهْنِ الْمَنْفُوشِ, when mountains would become like pieces of wool that have been spread thinly and very lightly. This is an action that will take place in the last hour, and I always remind Muslims and non-Muslims alike that although the last hour has got its own rules, its own laws, its own phenomena, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has left for us in this world science to prove the possibility of this happening, yet it's much better to refrain from talking about akhirah, because this is something 100% in the domain of the unseen, and we cannot explain it, but we have to believe in it just because it is mentioned in the Holy Quran.
Right. Unfortunately, we ran out of time, and
as usual,
this is the sad part I have to mention, and I hope our viewers do not have any hard feelings there. But one thing, let me be very clear on that, is that Dr. Zaghloul al-Naggar has accepted to join us on this program whenever he is in Cairo. Unfortunately, he's going back to England in a few days. However, he has told us that he will accept joining us again on this program. Dr. Zaghloul al-Naggar, the director of the Markfield Institute of Higher Education in England. Sir, a pleasure to have you with us on the show. As usual, thank you very much.
Thank you for inviting me here.
It's a real pleasure. Thank you for joining us here tonight. Next week is off, and we'll be back in 2 weeks' time. Good night.